I see that Mark's microphone is up. So, Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Oh, well, I mean, the next question is for you then. So I believe that the whole concept of hitting the right nerve has always been very important to business, and particularly the business that you have founded, because you were the founder of a company called Eloqua back in early 2000s, later acquired by Oracle. And secondly, you've been the founder of a company called Influitive, which is the currently the company where you are the chairman, an advocacy community platform. So can you shed a light on that? How hitting the right nerve with customers has been sort of the red line throughout your business?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, you know, I'm going to take a different approach than what Sachin talked about. You know, for me, you know, success has always been first and foremost about choosing the right customer segment. It's huge. The customer segment that I like to focus on the most is a group of underserved people that are going to become powerful and numerous in the future. And if you understand them and serve them well, then you can build a really interesting business. And at Eloqua, the group of people that we focused on were, they called themselves demand generators. They didn't call themselves marketers at all. They often came out of engineering. They often were not even from the marketing department originally. And their job was to figure out how to use this new internet thing as a way to drive business. And so those are the people that I wanted to serve. And I serve the B2B folks. Why? Because no one else was that interested in B2B at the time. They were much more interested in consumer marketing. So I wanted to find a group of people that were underserved and that I could have some white space around them. And the problem that they had was they needed a way to continuously develop opportunities until they were sales ready, and then allow salespeople to go and interact with them. Of course, we're all very familiar with this technology today, but back in 1999, this was pretty original stuff. So I think what's really important in terms of hitting a nerve is for the right people, that you provide an original lens that has a ring of truth to it. I think that's what hitting a nerve actually means, is that when you hear it, you hear a bold idea and you feel like, you know, that's something I believed my whole life, and I can't believe someone's actually talking about it now. And they're talking about it, though, in a different way than I've ever heard before. And so the message at Eloqua was, what you need is a measurable, repeatable process for generating new opportunities for the sales team. And having marketing and sales come together really for the first time in that way. And so that original lens, I think, was really important. And Influitive, sort of similar idea. You know, the bold idea at Influitive was, you know, your best marketing and sales you'll ever do is the marketing and sales that your customers do on your behalf. You know, your customers are way better salespeople than your employees are. You know, free them up and allow them to do what it is they want to do. And the key to getting them to do more of that advocate activity that's so important for driving business, especially now in this Corona time, is to give them the best experience. And that was a revolutionary idea, especially for, you know, a small group of people, these customer marketers of the future that really believe this, that really believe that their job was to make advocates happy and give them a great experience. And in so doing, that they would get the golden eggs of the referrals and the references and the case studies and videos and reviews and all those great things that we need our customers to invest back into our business. So hitting that nerve, I think, is more important than ever, right? In these times of crisis, I think to come up with a point of view that is different, but has the ring of truth for the right customer segment, not for everybody, not all companies, not all people, but the ones that really are predisposed to your message, I think is powerful. And I got a bonus for you today. And the bonus is I've actually started a new company. You won't see it on LinkedIn yet, but it's a new company. It's called Category Knots. And Category Knots is a coaching and content service for people who want to discover, develop, and dominate their software categories. And so my unique lens on it is, hey, we all know being a category creating company if you do it right, is a great way to build a huge return, right? To make a lot of money. You know, the Eloqua category today, marketing automation is valuable. I believe customer marketing category is going to be powerful and large one day. But you know, my unique lens on it is it doesn't have to be risky. It could actually be one of the least risky ways to build wealth for yourself, is to build a category creating company. And the way to do that is to have a deep understanding of an underserved segment and to do cultural anthropology on them and just serve them well. And you can feel this line of thinking throughout all the companies that I founded. But I believe that Category Knots is itself a category creator, you know, of category creating companies. It's a bit, but I believe that this is it can really be an interesting idea. Not every entrepreneur out there wants to build a new category. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are content to just take an existing mousetrap and make it a little bit better. But for those people who feel this need to create not just a company, but to create a whole ecosystem of companies, then you know, I might have a voice that they want to listen to.
Well, it all comes down to that single point, like addressing the right people with the right message that hits the right nerve. And in a market that's always been busy already and overloaded with messages, generic messages in my case, so often we think we have a marketing message, but at the end, if you pull it apart, it doesn't say anything. And if you remove the logo, it also doesn't stand, or it doesn't speak to who it's really from. And I think that's what we can all learn from. And possibly and hopefully, what has recently happened with the coronavirus crisis that has been created, it helps us to become much better at that. And then we'll have a lot more fun. So let me see. Yeah, I mean, talking about that exact point, let me pull that question back to Cindy in this case. How has COVID-19 changed your thinking about winning the heart of your customers, kind of hitting the right nerve, and how does it set you up to come out better?
Thanks, Ton, and Mark, I'm really glad that you're here and excited about Category Knots. Look forward to learning more. I think there's a few things that we've been really striving to do. I think first is phoned all of the clients that we have, the CEOs, and didn't talk about the product, our relationship, just checking in and how they're doing and sharing ideas that might be inspiring. I'm always very alert to who their customers are, and we really make an effort when we find, I call it moments of insights, that we share our knowledge. We're well known for that. So I think at the end of the day is how do you win your heart right now is really to listen. I mean, if you are hustling too hard and pushing, this isn't the time. People are all very sensitive to their employees. You know, they're very sensitive to everybody's health. This is a learning point for a lot of us who've been techies like myself and others on the phone. You know, we do need to step back and recognize for a lot of people, this is very new as an experience to be so online. You know, so those are a few of the things that, you know, I think it's all about, for us, it's been about listening and being more, not saying we're not thoughtful, I think we're a very thoughtful, nurturing culture, but if anything, we've had to grow Dumbo ears, like big, giant, friendly ears, and in many ways become little Stuart Littles as well.
And Roland, just a quick one to you as well. What have you learned, and how does it set up? How does it set you up to come out better out of this crisis?
Well, like I referred, is we basically focused back on our purpose and the value that we create. We were very strict with ourselves. We made adjustments there, changes there. Keep testing them and find that there is good feedback from in the discussions we have. So and the other thing is what we really have been that is the corona testosterone that we how we define it is we were thinking about building an ecosystem of parties we're working with that are also interested in our selling our technology. Something we were rethinking. We've done it now, and it works. And I mean, over the past we've been testing this now for 6 weeks, and it looks promising. So yeah, it is a more, like I said, decisions. Rethink decisions that were on the radar, but were kind of lagging. We decided to use the testosterone in the Corona thinking and make some decisions and just do it.
Yeah. Question at the end is, how can you keep that energy that you suddenly had because it needed to be there? How can you keep that going for going forward without having a crisis like this? Because I think we can all do without a crisis. So I want to switch to the next topic, and that's a topic that Mark has already introduced, which is the power of advocates. So my belief is that having a relationship with customers that is based on trust and value is probably more important than ever. I think Cindy, you already highlighted on that. Listen, be there for your customers, have a helpful conversation with them, and just ensure that you build a relationship, and that will then come back to you in different ways, possibly in ways that you couldn't even imagine. So Mark, back to the question to you. We see, you're unlocked, you're unmuted. Given the fact that you've launched an entire business around empowering customers to become your best salespeople, as you already highlighted in your earlier comments, how important is it to have advocates today? And what would you advise the audience to do differently?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's more important than ever. I mean, if you think about it, the importance of advocates is that with your customer advocates, you have essentially an unpaid group of people who really care about your company and your success. And they are more effective than anybody at your own company. I mean, they're more effective at selling than your salespeople are. I mean, who would you rather buy from? I mean, someone that's one of your peers or a salesperson. They're better at marketing than your marketing people because they understand themselves. They understand their own needs. They understand what products that they're looking for as well. So if you're able to unleash this incredibly powerful group of people that you don't pay any base salary or any bonus to, of course you're going to do really great, right? If every customer that you win is more likely to invest back into your company, and they do so by helping you win new customers, well then the lifetime value of your customers is going way up. Your cost to acquire new customers, your cost to expand new customers goes down. I mean, this is the key to an efficient business, and that's what we all need right now, right? We all want to grow efficiently. We can't afford to spend as much money on expensive salespeople, expensive and dubious marketing campaigns, products that don't hit the mark. So I think it's absolutely critical now, if there's nothing else that you learn, take advantage of from this session today, is we need to find a better way to unleash the power of our customers to do more than just pay us some MRR every month, but we need them to invest back into our companies. And there's actually a pretty easy way to do this, which is just think about the experience that they are looking for. And what's interesting, and one of my big insights when I created Influitive, was that people are looking for a different experience as a customer advocate than they are as a customer. So as a customer, they're looking for a product that works. They're looking, when they call in for service, that they get the service that they need, or they want proactive customer success. As a customer advocate, they're interested in things that are more in a psychological realm. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued, that they're really contributing to something. They want to feel like they're part of a movement that's bigger than themselves. I mean, that's why that hitting a nerve is so important, right? They want to feel like they're part of a big movement. That's what customer advocates are looking for. So there are lots of things that you can do in order to make people to give people these sorts of feelings that they're looking for. You don't need software like Influitive in order to do it, although it helps. But even in this time, even having a Slack group, or a WhatsApp group of your best customers, that where you have an ongoing chat and figure out how you can make their lives better, and you can request for new referrals or requests for ideas for how to improve products. I mean, really any non-financial investment, I think, to me, counts as advocacy. I mean, that's a literally free way in order to engage with your best customers, make them feel special and valued, you know, and generate those kinds of returns. And at some point, if you go down this path, you may want to invest in a community that you know, does engage and reward people. And Influitive has one of those, and there's others that range from free all the way to, you know, a Cadillac version of that sort of software. But if you want to really make this a core piece of your strategic approach to market, you know, there are software platforms that do that. But again, I'll emphasize that, you know, you can start on the path to customer advocacy literally for free with chat groups, or inexpensively when this lockdown ends. You know, having a dinner once a quarter with your best customers is honestly one of the best investments I think you can make as a you know, senior executive listening to this call. $1,000 to get, you know, 8 to 10 people to a nice dinner, and to have a conversation with them about where the company is going, and to ask them for some referrals and reviews and other things in return. Very inexpensive, super high ROI, and everyone once we're able to go to restaurants again.
That's for sure, yeah. Because having a dinner over Zoom is likely going to be less effective. Yeah, but I mean, I think yeah, these are excellent excellent remarks. I mean, and I go back to my time, for example, when I worked at Unit 4, and I saw how often I was always sort of almost misusing our customers, because it was always the same customers that we kept using and using and using as a reference, and that's the wrong approach. It's about giving them what they want rather than asking and asking and asking. That's where it will start to become a snowball, I would say. So thanks for that. So Sachin, next question to you, because one of the things that Mark already highlighted is that, you know, of course, it all starts with having a fantastic product. I mean, that's how the foundation is laid. And then, of course, you need to do things like answer their questions. But the way you do that is also, I would say, it's almost a contrarian approach. So on your website, thing that inspired me a year ago, and I see that it recently came back. One of the statements is software is easy as ordering, or build software as easy as it's as easy as ordering a pizza. So how important is that contrarian approach in your overall strategy, beyond the marketing part, to turn customers into advocates?
So I think that's a really important point, right? And you know, whether it's what we're doing with Studio Store, you know, which we've sort of been baking probably for just under a year, and then we launched it sort of as the pandemic came out, and as opposed to, you know, just going out to the market and pricing it how we would normally do, we said, look, you know, this is a really strong opportunity for us as a brand to rise above the noise globally in the markets that we operate in. And what we did is to say, whoever was building e-commerce, delivery, and there's a few more that are coming down the pipeline, we would allow them to get it for free for 3 months. And so, you know, that goes right into the heart of advocacy, because I think one thing is, to me, advocacy when you get a customer to go somewhere and do something, or tell a friend, or do something else. But I think there's a different sense of advocacy that comes from a sort of a sincere benefit that they received. And for us as a company, whether it's the products we build, what we message, how we approach it, being contrarian or being slightly rebellious is a core part of not only our DNA, but even our brand DNA. And so whether it is, you know, why should you have to pay $50,000 when you can get it for $500 a month? You know, why should you have to use, you know, these SaaS services where you can just put your logo, but, you know, the minute you have to do anything else, you have to spend $10,000 or $30,000 to build an e-commerce site? You know, why is it that you need to have a conversation for 2 weeks to be able to spec out your idea before you're actually able to, you know, get a price? And why does it always feel like the price is this black box? And, you know, when you make like the smallest change, it feels like it had an infinite impact to price or timeline. And so a lot of how we've built our business has been Forget how it's done. How should it be done? Forget what the top level view looks like. How do we build up from the bottom up? And how do we message to people as humans rather than people whose wallets we're trying to take away?
Very important point, that last point. Keep it all human. And I think it all comes back again to the point that Mark also made earlier on. It's like addressing the right customer segment, maybe an underserved segment of the market, and I think you're addressing one here as well. But typically speaking their language, and don't try to be everything to everybody. Because of course you could go after the whole market, but then it becomes generic and then it loses its power. Now you have something extremely powerful to offer to a segment that is ready for it. So I like that. And I wonder, Cindy, back to you. If you look at your customers, your customer base, how has advocacy over this past period been of value to take your business through this phase? What lessons have you learned here?
Well, obviously, in terms of advocacy, it's sort of like I mentioned before, it's really touching base, when we've had these discussions, although it hasn't been a hard focus on us. It's always that our clients are there for us in terms of references. It's really interesting being in the AI space in the sense of some of the confidentiality. I find that, they're there when we need them, but not always, to go out on public record. There's, especially with some of the larger accounts, they're cautious a little bit. But they are there for sure in terms of spirit and when you do need them. I think the other thing is in terms of the advocacy side is, I think you can learn, I think to Mark's point, there's no question, there's nothing better than a client having a lunch, with a potential prospect that you are targeting and for them to say a few words. And when it just comes off as, just natural community discourse, that makes a huge difference. The other thing is, and I learned this at Xerox when I was an executive, ask. Don't be afraid of asking your customers to be an advocate. And, that can really drive pathway to closure. And they're often more delighted that you are asking. So you have to find the time, but you also need to be alert to when the right time is to make those asks. Because if in fact you're still going through, your justification and your pilot stage, you have to be patient. Advocacy, I think, is a vision for the long term, not the short term. And, I think that's one of the aspects that it's always harder when you're in the emergent side because, time is so critical. But there is a time, just like in Bugs Bunny, to pounce. And there's either a good or bad time. It either can work for you or not. So I think advocacy, is definitely a strategic imperative. And, you can build that into your whole value system. And how you approach even your own employee base as well is kind of nurture that broader perspective. I think Mark, this is one of his deep expertise areas, and he's definitely a category killer.
Exactly. And I agree with you. This is about being there for the long term. It's just playing the infinite game rather than the finite game. If you're the only thing is like short-term gains. And the next quarter, then customers will see, and that's where likely you'll have a much bigger problem to get them to be an advocate for you.